Hi, and welcome back to the Save It for Parts channel. In a previous video, I talked about the Othernet satellite system, which was a data casting or sort of a one-way internet stream. The idea with this was that a satellite would send down internet-type data, Wikipedia articles, news articles, weather, and if you had a satellite dish and a special little box, you could receive that and you could get that type of data without having an internet connection or any other connection to the outside world. Now this started about 10 years ago, and one of the ideas was that it could bypass censorship. So if you lived in a third world country that had censored news or restricted internet access, you could tune in to this frequency with a satellite dish and you could get BBC News, you could get world news, you could get potentially uncensored information about the outside world. It was also intended to serve third world countries where you maybe didn't have internet or you didn't have reliable internet. Now, Othernet suffered from a few issues. First of all, it needed proprietary hardware, and the hardware kind of changed frequently. So if you bought the box that received the satellite signal, a couple years later you'd have to buy a different box because the technology changed. It was also potentially not super useful for third world countries if you had to buy this special hardware, because there are probably shipping restrictions. If you live in a dictatorship, you can't necessarily go on Amazon and just buy this device to hook up in your home. And then if the secret police bust down the door and see that you have an Othernet box in your home, you're probably in big trouble. So there is another satellite data casting service similar to Othernet. This one is called Toosheh. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but apparently that's the Persian word for knapsack. And the Toosheh system attempts to overcome some of these issues by using just off-the-shelf satellite TV hardware. So you don't need to buy a special box, you don't have to have anything different or weird in your house. If you already have a satellite TV receiver, you already have a satellite dish, well, you're basically all set. You do need to download somehow their custom software, and you have to have a USB drive to plug into the set-top box, and then a computer or phone to translate the downloaded files into something you can read. It leverages the MPEG-2 transport layer that comes down from a TV satellite, and that MPEG-2 transport layer can include not just video, also audio files, it can include text files, it can include other data, and it just gets compressed into a weird format that your set-top box generally turns into TV broadcasts, it turns into your on-screen menu, your programming guide. Now, I had heard of the Toosheh or Knapsack program. When I was doing the Othernet video, I was reading about it, and it seemed like it was mainly aimed at Middle Eastern dictatorships, Iran, countries around there that don't have free internet, don't have free news. But I did find out recently that it is also available in North America. So we can tune into this system, this Toosheh signal, using the Galaxy 19 satellite. That provides some other free-to-air satellite TV programs. I've actually looked at that satellite before and I didn't find too much interesting on there, but I apparently overlooked this Knapsack channel. So I'm going to set up a dish again. We're going to see if we can tune into that and see what this looks like. Now, one downside of non-commercial and free-to-air satellite TV is that it generally needs a bigger satellite dish. The little ones that you get on your house are designed for commercial, high-performance, high-power signals, and a lot of the free stuff needs a bigger dish. It does not come in on those small dishes because they just aren't big enough to collect enough weak signal to get into your set-top box. Fortunately, I have a much bigger satellite dish that I can play with. This is a folding C-band dish, but I have a KU-band LNB on it, and that works just fine. I actually used the same one for the Othernet system. Now this is a little bit overkill. You don't necessarily need a 6 or 7 foot dish like this. If you can find something in the 3-foot range, that should be sufficient to pick up a free-to-air signal, to pick up this Knapsack or Toosheh signal. And 3-foot dishes are not super common in the US, but you can find them. You might also need a different LNB. This is a bullseye free-to-air LNB, so it picks up a little bit wider frequency range than your standard Dish Network or DirecTV LNBs, and you can find these things on eBay for like $20 or so. They're not super expensive. Now, I started out by saying this was simpler and easier, and you could use your existing set-top box, your satellite receiver. However, we have another caveat to that. I don't actually know if a North American commercial set-top box will work. Mostly I hear people using this with free-to-air set-top boxes, which are much more common in other parts of the world. Again, you can get those on eBay, you can get them on Amazon, and they are again designed to use those free-to-air LNBs. They pick up a wider frequency range, they pick up many more satellite transponders, more frequencies, and they're designed to kind of see everything that's out there, where a Dish Network or DirecTV box like this wants to only show you what Dish Network has or DirecTV has. They don't want to show you the other transponders. They don't want to show you any alternatives to their paid system. So I don't actually know if this is going to work. I might try this box later, but we're going to start out by using a satellite meter, and then we might try a little free-to-air receiver set-top box. I'm just going to start with my little GT Media V8 version 2, and this is going to serve as my locator to find the satellite, and then hopefully as the set-top box, because this can decode video. I think it will decode the transport stream files, and does have a USB input here somewhere, so we can hopefully save from this onto a USB stick. To get the dish roughly aimed, I go on dishpointer.com and I put in my address and the satellite that I'm looking for. In this case, it's Galaxy 19 at 97 degrees west, which for me is basically south. It's a little bit west of south, but I'm going to be aiming based on the dish pointer alignment, and then an elevation of 38 degrees, and I just have this little hardware store angle measurement to get my elevation. This V8 meter is a pretty slick little unit for experimenting with TV satellites. The main downside is that it has a terrible battery and it will not operate and charge, so you have to have it charged up beforehand. It's powering not only itself but also the LNB with 13 or 18 volts, so it does draw quite a bit of power, and it doesn't really last very long. So we probably won't be able to just leave this all day downloading files, but we can use it to test the system out. So I'm using the little meter to fine-tune the dish alignment. Just looking at the signal strength here. So for Galaxy 19, we want to use transponder 8 at 12.115 gigahertz, vertical polarity, 22,425 symbol rate. I'm still not finding anything. Aligning one of these satellite dishes is kind of a black art. You get your best angle that you can, and then you just have to fiddle with everything until you get a signal. Well, I've gotten pretty much nowhere on the little meter, and we're almost out of battery power, so might have to give up on this and try a different receiver box. I have this other satellite meter that somebody gave me, but I cannot get the thing to work. It has some kind of a corrupted file system, and I have not figured out how to reload the firmware. So I've basically given up on this because it takes too long to mess around with it. Well, I've been out here for over an hour, and I cannot find that satellite. I cannot get anything more than about a 65% signal. I've even tried switching LNBs. This one gives me about an extra dB of signal, but I'm still not finding anything. So one potential problem, the bigger dish here means that I have to be more accurate. I have to aim more carefully. The bigger dish gets more signal, but it focuses in more closely. So basically the beam width is smaller, and I have to be much more precise with where I point it. All right, we finally have a little bit more of a signal here. I ended up having to try a different transponder, and then I had to flip the LNB over and move it in a little bit towards the dish. So I moved the focal point of the LNB inward. I don't know why that worked. The old LNB that I had worked fine with the focal point out here for Othernet, but I guess for this one it just wants to be a little bit closer to the reflector. I think I've said it before, when it comes to setting up antennas, it's only about 40% math and science and like 60% just wild guessing and trial and error. So yeah, by screwing around enough, eventually I can get some of this stuff to work. So in my case, clearly the problem was I was not using enough duct tape. It is not a Save It for Parts antenna project until there's duct tape covering every surface. All right, and we do actually have a TV channel. We've got like, I don't know, Saudi Arabian Wheel of Fortune or something. Now I'm still finding nothing on the 12115 transponder that I want for the Knapsack program. You'll have to excuse the noise during this project. The city is just destroying the street out there in front of the house. This little guy has finally given up and needs to be recharged. So let's bring out a real TV. That's right, contrary to what I've said in the past, I do own a television. It's ancient, I found it in a dumpster, I never use it, it's literally covered in dust, but I do have a satellite receiver glued to the back of it here. Anyway, this satellite box is a Cocket Kimini, or whatever that says. It's one of those really cheap free-to-air satellite receivers. I found it on Amazon. I'm hoping it'll work with this. It also has some USB outputs, so I think we can save to a flash drive with this. This is how normal people watch television, right? Sitting in their driveway looking for Saudi Arabian propaganda. We're doing another scan from this satellite receiver. As usual, all the free-to-air channels are garbage. What's really handy is this little LCD readout on top of the satellite meter. It tells us the quality and relative value of all the stations we're picking up. In case you can't tell, I don't have much respect for free-to-air TV. It takes 3 hours to find the stupid satellite, and then there's never anything watchable on there. So I don't even bother watching TV anymore. Like I said, this is the only TV I own. It gathers dust. I watch YouTube or Netflix on a projector. And I am still not finding that Knapsack datacast thing. These all just look like regular old television channels. I'm also not finding that 12115 transponder on here. Let's see if I can manually add the thing. Yeah, I've got a strength, but no quality, so we're still not really getting a signal from that transponder. And there's still nothing we can find on there. Now, it's possible it's on a different transponder. All the information I found was from 2018. And again, this is one of those programs or services that they have a couple coders, they don't have any PR people, they don't have any marketing people, they don't have any people that update their stuff and keep the public informed of what's going on. So nobody even knows this is out there. And if you do know it's out there, I don't even know if I've got the right transponder. So it's one of those systems that would be really cool if people knew about it, but they don't tell people about it. It's not advertised. They don't tell you how to get it. Their website is kind of sketchy. They have some PDF documentation, but it's a little confusing. So yeah, I don't really know how to find this. We can do super satellites. I don't know what any of these are, but I've heard blind scan supposedly gives you absolutely everything that the dish is currently picking up. So let's try that. If that doesn't work, I have a couple other possible transponders. I looked closely at Robbie Strike's video on this from 2 years ago, and it looks like he was using one of these transponders on Galaxy 19. So we'll try those next if this gets us nowhere. All right, well, we've got a few more channels, but still not what we're looking for. So I'm still not seeing that Knapsack thing. I tried to enter this 12177 transponder. It looks like we already have a 12176, so it won't let me add a new one. We have these Hope channels, but it's like religious Settlers of Catan or something. I went on satbeams.com and I found another possible transponder. This was from 2020, so and there's nothing on that transponder either. So I searched around online even more. I went through all of the free-to-air satellite lists I could find. One of the more reliable that I found is LingSat. I'll put a link down in the description below. And an old version of their website from 2019 does list Knapsack for Hope on Galaxy 19, but their current list from 2024 does not list it on Galaxy 19 or any other satellite. So I think that means that it's gone, it's defunct. It has run out of money, it is shut down, and is no longer available. And that really matches what I'm seeing here live on the air, trying to find it on Galaxy 19. It just does not exist anymore. So unfortunately, it looks like I've missed the boat on Knapsack for Hope or Toosheh or whatever it was called. It is gone. I was lucky enough to find Othernet while it's still around for a month or two, but this other one has gone into the history books and unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. So I guess if you're in a third world country, if you're in some oppressive regime that's anti-news, you'll just have to do something else for your news. I was hoping to showcase this kind of oddball file casting technology, but those seem to be the only two companies that really use it for direct to consumer. You can get some other file casting stuff as a business or satellite internet, but this niche application of just sending down data, one-way internet, was an interesting idea, but it really seems to have only ever been used by two companies, and one of them is dead and the other one is going to be dead in the next couple months. So unfortunately, we're right at the tail end of this technology. I did email the company from their website just to see if they're still around, to ask them if they have any other information. I haven't heard anything back, but if I do, maybe I'll do a follow-up on this. So until then, I guess we're going to wrap this video up because this has been kind of a failure. We have not found what we're looking for, and it may not even exist anymore. So if you happen to know anything else about this, if you use it yourself, if you are still using it in 2024, let me know. I would love to tune in and check this out. I would love to do a video on it where we actually get something from that Knapsack service. I think it sounded really cool. So If you know anything about the company, if you work for the company, drop me an email, leave me a comment, let me know more about it, and we'll try it again sometime. I hope this has been at least somewhat of an interesting video for people, even though it was mostly a giant failure. I do have other videos on satellite experiments. I have more weather satellite related stuff, and I do apologize for wasting your time if you were hoping to see something more interesting in this video. If you did stick around this long, thanks to everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.